Hey guys, what's going on? Time for chapter 13 of my Path of Radiance hard mode draft. And as with the last chapter, this was the ship chapters in general. I feel are kind of a breather for most people. It's either you hate them or you love them, depending on like how far or behind you are the other people in your group in the turn count. But in something like this, depending on the units that you have, there's like a certain amount of chapters that you or turns rather that you either can beat it in or you can't. Like I said with chapter 12, it's kind of hard to beat a particular turn count or get lower than a certain turn count if you don't have a flyer on that map. You know, just due to the fact that the Ravens pretty much arrive at the ship uncontested unless you have a flyer within a certain amount of turns, and in the turns it takes, you know, there are reinforcements that always arrive at that point, and you know, something like that is just kind of one of those things that, you, like I said, you either like or you hate depending on how well you're doing. The only reason I recruited Astrid is for, you know, obvious. Night Ward is obvious. I mean, it's one of the best items in the game, and I can definitely use it. You know, the fact that I couldn't even reach enemies anyway was a perfect reason to get it. I don't recruit Gatry for the fact that if I did, he wouldn't be able to do anything, and if I don't, he'll be able to at least, you know, do something or kill enemies without penalty, which is kind of cool. I think he only killed like 2 people, but on my train of thought, like, this chapter is a defend chapter, so at the very worst, you know, you can only beat it in a certain amount of turns, and I think it's, I can't remember the exact, it might be 8 or 10 turns that you have to defend it, but you can defeat it in less than that, but I think the earliest you can beat the chapter is in 7 turns. So no matter what unit you have, you should be able to beat it in 7 turns. If you're really undermanned, I mean, you might have some trouble, but other than that, you know, at the end of the day, the units will just come and surround you, and if you have to IXL your way through it, then you can do it, but you'll miss out on all the items, which this chapter has pretty much the best items in the game. I think there's an energy drop, the occult scroll, I want to say a tome, an Elfire perhaps, but definitely, if you know, bring Soth along in this chapter. I think you should have 2 chest keys at this point, or 1, depending on how many chests you've gotten prior to this. I know some people go for stuff in chapter 10. But you have Volk in that chapter, depending on the rules of the draft. So, yeah. But in mine, you know, Soth was free to everyone, and Volk was free for utility until Soth, which was pretty much this chapter. It was the first time you could actually really use him, but for thieving purposes, of course. I don't think I gave the Night Ward to anyone yet. I asked for just kind of chilling at the back of the ship, because, you know. But I tried to get, I think I get all the chests on this chapter actually, and within 7 turns, which is pretty cool. Having both thieves was definitely a boon to me. But I think the only real issue you'll have with the defend point is I don't even know how the AI really works with the defend point. I know if you don't have anything, if you don't contest it, you know, if you don't have somebody sit on it, the Ravens might go on it. I don't know if their AI works that way. I didn't really have any issue with it just because I had Mordecai sit on the spot, I think, eventually, and everything went out fine. But the only problem with, I wish you could beat the chapter faster, because I would technically be able to, but the enemies here are dumb, and honestly the partner units are just annoying as hell because they block the way. I mean, and the enemies will attack them, and they're doing pitiful damage. They might kill 1 or 2 units at most, and die within 3 hits themselves, which is kind of bad. And like I said, it just kind of pollutes those narrow ways, those choke points, and you know, they'll steal kills from you, and they'll die prematurely, and they just suck. Gatry is pretty much the only one that can do anything, especially if you haven't drafted him, because he will be fine just attacking people. There's no real restrictions on green units, so thankfully they made him green instead of having him and Astrid join together, you know. But either way, I mean, the thing is now, it's not a matter of defeating the enemies in a proper amount of time. It's well, I suppose it is, but my units at this point in the game are so strong. At least my two main units, next to Ike, are just so ridiculously strong. They will be able to solo every map for pretty much the rest of the game, without any trouble whatsoever. And the thing with that is, it's just a matter of reaching all the enemies in time. And sometimes, you know, thankfully they have hand axes, which I believe was the best route to go with. Especially for Oscar. I mean, Kieran has axes anyway, but the fact that both of them have hand axes definitely speeds up the process. So if you have either of these units or any paladins you get, definitely always go for axes, and if not axes, lances or something. Swords is probably the worst choice. There's no range attack with swords besides the sonic sword and the rune sword, but you get the rune sword incredibly late, and there's no reason to use the sonic sword on these units because their magic is so piss poor. And you know, swords are just a terrible choice for paladins. They really are. Makalov definitely is an exception because he starts with them. And using killing edges and stuff like that, they are more accurate and it is nice, but definitely outside of Kieran, I would just go for axes on every mounted unit. Astrid, Oscar, Makalov, everyone. So it's just the best choice. Hand axes are incredibly cheap and they will carry you for pretty much the entire game. There's not many enemies that can't really reliably one round without hand axes at max strength. The only things I can think of are high HP warriors and beast lagoos. Sometimes bird tribe, but and definitely dragons, of course. Nothing can really one round them very consistently. So, like I said, this chapter isn't very hard. It's just a matter of beating it within the 7 turns you can, because I just saw it was a 10 defense turn, and trying to get as many chests as possible. Because that's pretty much the only reason I saw for this chapter was, okay, it's time to get some goodies, and a lot of these will actually help you a lot more in the rest of the game, especially that first occult. You can give that one to Oscar, or, well, not everyone's case, but I would definitely just, if you're not recruiting Stefan, don't use it on anyone. Stefan takes up, I think, 4 turns no matter what. Possibly 3, I'm not sure, to get. I took 4 in chapter 15 just to get him, because I didn't have used to combat in my flying units that I utilized to get them there. But that was a shit level up. Getting Stefan pretty much for the occult is worth the extra turn, I think. Like, you know, depending on the units that you have, I mean, if you really need to, you only need 1. And that one is best suited for Ike anyway until the last chapter, which I recommend Wrath and Resolve. But, you know, Soul isn't a bad ability to have, and really the only occult scrolls worth anything in this game are, you know, Soul, Aether, of course, is the best, Lethality, and then even Luna is not too bad. I know Gatry pretty much does a shit ton of damage anyway, but the extra damage can usually make up for his lack of speed. I know he has a good speed growth, but the cap is pretty shit. So, you know, Luna can help out. I mean, I would say, depending on who you have on your team, I would give at least 1 mounted unit Soul if you have one. Aether goes to Ike, of course. You know, Lethality for Volk. It's kind of a, you know, a shame that they made occult skills so useless, because they really, all they do is steal capacity, and I mean, honestly, better skill combinations are a lot more useful. Even Soul, which is in my opinion the second best in the game, because Lethality, Volk isn't still a ridiculously good combat unit no matter how you put it. He's just a weaker swordmaster with the ability to one-hit kill, and most swordmasters can one-hit kill reliably by the end of the game anyway. So, or not one-hit kill, but 1 round by the end of the game anyway. Uh, I think I gave Oscar or Kieran one of my chest keys, and that actually helped me to get the energy drop in the upper occult scroll. If you don't really care about any of the other ones, just try and make Soth go to the one that Oscar is closest to right now. I believe that's the occult. Shabam, it is. Okay. And the energy drop is the one closest to the boss. If it is even an energy drop, I honestly can't remember. That's what I keep on thinking of, though. But I think if you go for the boss rushing in this map will work. That's one of the reasons you'll probably have to beat it in 7, is send a small party. Usually Ike or another powerful unit can solo the boss pretty easily. I mean, he is an archer, so it's just a matter of stomping his shit in when he's, you know, doing nothing, basically. He can't counterattack. So, the main reason you'll want to do that is killing every unit before like turn 6 or so, is to mostly get rid of the ravens that come, and they'll only start leaving after a while. And once they start retreating, they'll retreat once the boss is dead. So killing the boss before they come is definitely a good option. So I'd recommend doing that, just for a small bit of strategy. But at least I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I know they say something. There's a scene that comes, and ooh, nice crit, bro. Norris. You certainly are not worthy of the name Norris, but you know, those jokes are old and a bit overdue, if you ask me. And try not to have Ike kill too many people, because I know, albeit being an efficiency run, and turn count is the most important, you really don't want to skimp out some of your weaker units that you'd be getting now out of experience. And while Ike soloing is of course viable, I don't recommend it for the majority of the maps. Just kind of send Ike on his own special missions, either, you know, going straight for the boss or attacking specific targets and what have you, especially on chapters that aren't route or arrive. And arrive chapters will probably be your favorite. Seize is kind of annoying due to the Ike's lack of movement for most of the game. I know he has, I think, 6, but either way, I mean, it's just a matter of Ike having lower movement. When all of your units are starting to promote, he's stuck having to be rescued or shoved excessively. It's just an annoyance, really. But I think arrive chapters are probably my favorite, because it depends mostly on your mobility. If you don't have any mounted units or flying units, you're kind of screwed on arrive chapters for the most part. It will take quite a bit longer. So just be aware of that. But those were my favorite chapters. Seize and route are easily my least favorite. Mostly route. Seize is way more doable in that you can at least make a beeline for a certain point. And in route, you really have to strategize, because you have your reinforcements to worry about. You have that's pretty much it. Reinforcements are one of the main reasons. And you also just have strategic planning to make sure your units can get to all those units by the end of, you know, a particular amount of turns, because if you don't, then the reinforcements will arrive and you'll be stuck in a tough spot and ending up eating turn counts that you really wouldn't have needed to. Because the thing with arrive chapters is generally with your units, there's a set pattern or a set strategy you can use that might possibly be reliant on certain one round KOs and criticals, but I doubt it. If so, you know, that's the reason you can reset to do that. Depending on if your draft, you know, allows that or not. But as you can see here, the Ravens arrived last turn, and that was the entire point. Is if you didn't, you would have to defeat them, and so don't let the 10 turn defense fool you. You can end it faster, and I believe 7 is the fastest. So, because there are no enemies on this map, and I don't believe any show up at the end of the next turn. So 7 is your lowest point, so try and aim for that. Any lower, or any higher, I suppose, isn't too bad. But as I said, the ship chapters are kind of breathers, just mostly for the part that you can't really go better or worse by a huge margin, and that's definitely a good thing. It allows you to kind of sit back and just level up your units a little bit if you really need to. If you have the time, you know, you can go for the experience if you want, but I don't recommend it. So, chapter 14, however, is a different story. That is definitely a chapter that can take you quite a bit longer depending on the units you have, and depending if you have to recruit Makalov as well. Because most likely, if you have Marsha, you're not going to have another mounted unit. And if you do, I mean, it's probably not going to be Kieran or Oscar, so it's going to be Astrid or, you know, Makalov who comes that chapter, and Astrid is a terrible starting level, albeit Paragon, but you're going to have to waste quite a bit of bonus experience getting her up to snuff. So, regardless of the double boost, but that was the chapter, so thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.